welcome back to the channel. So I decided what better way to do that than to do a story time. So basically the topic of this video is the first time I got bamboozled, the first time I got hoodwinkled, periwinkled, the first time I got messed over by a Negro. And he wasn't even a Negro, imagine that. But apparently it runs in the male gene just to behave and act this way. And I'm not saying it's all men, but it's most men. So we're going to go ahead and begin with the story. This story takes place approximately 1 year ago when I met this man on Bumble. I've heard another YouTuber who I respect and admire, his name is Tony Gaskins, call it Dumble, and for good reason. Although I will say my best friend met her current boyfriend on there, and from the get-go it seemed like they were a good pair, they were a good match. It's just me, I have the worst, I guess if you want to say, I have the worst experiences with online dating. Do I recommend it? If you want to do it, if you're careful about it, go for it. But me personally, I'm still single. That should tell you everything you need to know. But yeah, we will fast forward to said man. We'll give him a name. We're not going to use his real name. We'll call him Jared. I met Jared a year ago this month. I was like, he's my physical type. Great, this is gonna go well. Set up a date like almost immediately for the next day, which, ladies, if you're talking to someone, it should automatically be a red flag if they're trying to set up a date with you like 3 days within you first touching base with them, because you don't even know this person's last name. You don't know if their parents are still together. You don't know if they didn't finish high school. So just make sure that you're careful about where you invest your time in and who you invest it into. I would say give it at least a week. If you guys are talking, even if you're just texting every single day, multiple times a day for a week, you know more about this person than if you were to go on a date with them the day after you learn what their first name is. So yeah, met Jared, scheduled a date for the next day. Should have known then. And it was a drive-in movie. So next day, he picks me up. I think it's like 8 p.m. So it's dark outside. And we're going to a drive-in. Actually, let me backtrack. I just remembered something. So we go to Starbucks first because I'm not super hungry. I just want something to like sip on, you know, while we're watching the movie. So we go to Starbucks first. I remember when he picks me up that, first of all, he parked across the street from my house. So I did send him my address. So if I'm giving you my address, clearly I want you to either park outside of my home or in the driveway of my home. This dude parks across the street. I don't know who he's trying to avoid seeing him, if he's trying to just get a glimpse of me so he can drive off if he doesn't like the way I look. But I remember that he's parked across the street. So anyway, gets out and automatically tries to do the, you know, the one arm. You ladies, you know what this is, the one arm embrace. I don't mind it, but something was off with this one. I could tell it was more of like, I want to do this so I can touch you, so I can get like a feel of what's going on here. So I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go. And I remember I was 20 at the time. I'm 21 now. He was 23, but he looked early 40s. This man did not age well at all. Like, already the balding thing was going on. Like, I'm like, why is your hairline like 4 inches from your forehead? Like, what terrible genes did your parents give you that you were already looking like early 40s at 23? I remember feeling slightly uncomfortable initially because I'm like, you already look older than your age. Like, what are we going to talk about? So we leave, we go to Starbucks, and after we leave Starbucks, as we're pulling out of the drive-through, remember these specific words coming out of his mouth. He said, I am so glad that you are Black because I love Black girls. Oh no, not just that, and Asian girls. And I'm like, what? Like, is this the only reason you match with me? Like, even if it is, like, it's not something that you need to come out and say. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, you're Hispanic. Like, oh, that's the only reason I'm going out with you is because you fit my physical type. Like, it's already understood that that is something that you're attracted to if you're going out with the person. So when he told me, I just kind of looked at him and I was like, okay, like, what do you want me to say to that? Like, I am who I am. Like, if you happen to like that, great. If not, okay. So I remember being like, oh, thanks. Like, keep in mind, I was very new to dating. Like, I didn't really start actually going out on actual dates until I turned like 20. So it was all new to me. It was very new. And I was just like, okay. He kept complimenting me a lot. Like, oh my gosh, I like your hair. Like, oh my gosh, you're so pretty. You're so beautiful. Even over text, it was like, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going out with you. And that's another red flag. First red flag, tries to schedule a date within like the next day of you meeting them and you don't even know their last name. Second red flag is excessive compliments. Like, okay, the first 10 times of you telling me that you like the way I look is enough, you know. And what it is, it's a method to get here faster. Like, he's complimenting me like, oh my gosh, I'm flattered, let me just drop my guard and open my legs and spread it wide. Like, no. So I already knew that something was off. Just gonna be excessive compliments. So we get to the theater. He pays. Thank God he pays, guys, because some of these men out here are not paying for dates. Like, or they'll be like, can we split it? I've had that one time. Never again. Never again. If he's asking you to split it, one, he's broke. Two, he doesn't really like you that much. So pays for everything. We go into the theater, or the drive-in theater. Do you know how bad this date was? The date was so bad, I don't even remember the name of the movie or what it was about. I just remember trying to keep his hands off of me the entire time. And I don't want to say this is typical 23-year-old male behavior, but I feel like this is typical 23-year-old male behavior. Their mind is only on one thing, and it's their little guy down there. So I remember, and this is already like, this is another red flag. Seat reclining. If a dude's reclining his seat all the way back and you guys are sitting there, you're still sitting straight up. It's like, why are we at an L? Like, why are our heights not matching each other? Why are you completely reclined? And why am I sitting up in my seat? You can't even see the movie if you're sitting all the way back here like this. Like, no. I'm like, okay, this dude's weird. I'm like, we didn't really even have, I think he asked me like, oh, what are you looking for on the app? Like, why did you download it? I'm like, what are you looking for? Because I don't think we're looking for the same thing. I didn't say all this at the time. At the time, and guys, I consider myself to be somewhat intelligent when it comes to these things. And I think I handled myself pretty well in the situation, but he was, sorry guys, brief intermission because all the memories are flooding back. And it's just like, why didn't I suck this dude? What was happening? But I remember him reaching over with his musty, dirty, grubby hands and trying to like grab my face like this to do the whole pull over thing. And every time I'd be like, what I should have done is grabbed his arm and like just flung it off of me. But what I did instead was just kind of like give him the dirtiest look. Like, I was just like, what is going, like, what are you doing? What makes you think you have the license to touch me? Like, no. And that probably went on like maybe 5 times throughout the length of the movie. Like, reach over, try to do this, try to that. I remember at the end of the movie, the windows being completely completely fogged up. And him making no attempt to defog them. I'm like, first of all, can we crack a window? Can we crack a window in this car? Am I trapped? Are the doors locked? Is this an episode of Saw where I'm gonna have to complete a series of tasks to get myself out of this situation with a man? Like, I literally have seen memes on Instagram and reels on Instagram of girls being like, the man or the bear. Now, I don't want to get mauled by a bear, but I also don't want to be trapped in a room with a man. So, it's a toss-up. Especially this particular one. So, anyways, movie ends. Obviously, he's like, what are we gonna do next? Do you want me to take you home? Like, take me home. Like, yesterday. Like, take me home an hour ago. So I go home. Obviously, I get sent the, I had a great time with you, want to do this again text. And me being like, oh my gosh, he liked me. He was just a little bit touchy. Because I was uncomfortable at the time. I was like, okay, what is he doing? And I remember telling my friends. And my friends were like, Curse, that's a red flag. Like, why would you even go out with him again? Like, he was unwantingly touching you. And you don't, you know. But me being like the 20-year-old, I'm like, okay. Like, I texted him back. And I'm like, I had a good time too. Let's do this again. And we did it again. And this time, I think we went out, we got food, we got like frozen yogurt or something. And this time, no moves were made. So I'm like, okay, like maybe he is okay. But I remember after that date, it was the second one, that the texts got a lot less frequent. And girls, I know you know what I mean. When you've kind of gotten to know someone a little bit and you've been texting like a morning, how's your day going, a good night at the end of the day, and then the texts get like less frequent and less frequent. And I remember that happening, and I remember me, because I actually remember what I was doing at the time. And it was around the holiday season, so I was going to meet up with my friend in Orange County to like get coffee. And I just remember it really bothering me. So I remember I brought it up to him, and I was like, are you getting busy? Like, you're not texting me as much. And I remember I didn't get a reply for the rest of the night. And that kind of solidified in my head that he wasn't the one. He was not the right guy for me whatsoever. So I kind of just told him, like, I'm done, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I remember when I told him, I think he was, like, drunk. Another red flag. And he basically was like, but I like you. I want to do this. You're really going to sabotage this. Like, I was just busy. I had to go pick up my brother from the airport. All these BS excuses. And I saw right through them all. And it was hard for me to do at the time, because especially when you're starting to date, it's like when you break off a connection, like you break off a little piece of you. And it was hard for me to do, but it was necessary. So anyways, I ended up in the end, I told him, like, I'm done. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I don't want to go out with you anymore. And fast forward to when I got with my now ex, like a month or two later, I remember getting a text from this guy. You guys, I got a text from this guy kind of out of nowhere, just being like, I want to make you my girl. Like, and he knew I had a guy, and no, he was not blocked. Like, he should have been blocked. He was blocked promptly after this. Don't worry. But I do remember him texting me and being like, I wish you were my girl. Like, I think you should just give me a chance. Guys, this dude was going hard. I think he was drunk. I don't know what it was, but yeah. Yeah, I get this call. Definitely probably a drunk call, guys. Another red flag. The drunk call is not a good call. You don't really want to take what they're saying seriously. It's usually just some sort of like emotional vomit to try to get you to reel you back in or something like that. And so I remember him saying that, and I was like, no, like, I like my boyfriend at the time. I was like, I'm not gonna ditch him to get with you, no matter how much money you're trying to spend on me. Which now in hindsight, I'm like, okay, money is important, but I was young and dumb, you know. So he was basically just like, how much did your boyfriend spend on your birthday gift? Because my birthday had like just gone by. And I was like, I don't know, like, it doesn't matter. And he's like, well, I'll spend $500 on you. I'm like, man, you're not getting the point. You are not for me. You're not actually a good human being. Anyway, long story short, next morning he texts me and says, don't worry about it anymore. I had a girlfriend the whole time. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you actually kidding me? So now I look like the bad guy because you had a... I cannot make this stuff up, guys. Like, the moral of this story is just be... First of all, time tells everything. Time next to God is your best friend. God and time are your two biggest best friends. And they kind of just reveal to you the truth behind almost every situation. So if you are going to date, especially if you're going to date online, take the time. Take at least a week. I know you're excited. I know you like this guy or girl. I know that you think you know them so well, even though you don't even know their favorite color. You don't even know what city they were born in. You don't know how many siblings they have, but you think that you were in love with this person. Give it a little bit of time. Be smart. Talk to your friends about the situation. Get their advice. And don't make rash decisions. So yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this little story time with me. Maybe if this does well and you guys like it, I'll do more because I do have more stories to tell. And yeah, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.